Indigenous Works is celebrating 25 years. 25 years of impact, being innovative, transformative, inclusive, purpose-driven, inspirational, sustainable, beneficial, community-focused, resilient. As shared by Eric Newell, former president of Syncrude and founding council, co-chair and champion, Simply the Best, a national organizational leader developing real tools for companies to improve their Aboriginal workplace strategies and create economic inclusion.
In the mid to late 90s, there was a tremendous amount of political action taking place across the country. But then the Oka crisis happened in Quebec, and it was a very unsettling time for all of us Canadians and all of us as First Nations people and Indigenous peoples. It galvanized so many of our concerns, and concerns is our complaints, our issues. Like, no one was listening, and it was so incredible that this had to happen till someone listened.
It started in the early 90s, and that's an important period for me personally in that I had been transferred from Toronto to Winnipeg in the summer of 1989. And it was there that I saw firsthand the very complex socio-economic issues impacting Canada's First Peoples.
When I came in as CEO of Syncrude Canada Limited, we were trying to figure out how to get the oil sands development going again. And we found out through a study with the Chamber of Resources that we were going to be very short of skilled tradespeople. This was magnified, really, in my mind, for the Indigenous people, because we had such a large Indigenous population up in the Fort McMurray region where the oil sands is, and they were not sharing equally in the benefits which the industry had promised.
Relationship between corporate Canada and Indigenous peoples in the early 90s was a more rocky relationship. As time went on, the Royal Commission on Aboriginal People released a report in October of 1996, and it was a Royal Commission that was 5 years in the making. Report, a very voluminous report, nearly 4,900 pages, and one of the most expensive Royal Commissions in the history of Canada. A year or so later, we at the Royal Bank were approached to do some papers, if you will, related to the Royal Commission. And we at the Royal Bank, led by our chief economist, who teamed up with Kelly Lindsay and others to produce something called The Cost of Doing Nothing. And that was launched in October of 1997. It was groundbreaking in that we focused corporate Canada on the need to change the paradigm when it comes to dealing with Canada's Indigenous peoples.
Well, the idea was to create a new model that has never existed before. The model was really intended to bring to the table all of the relevant players to strategize and connect and communicate how we can best increase the Indigenous labor market in a wide range of industries, which had never really been done from a national perspective in the past.
I've always found that Indigenous Works was a really good place to bring together Indigenous people from across Canada and businesses and industry that were really interested in wanting to engage more with Indigenous people. Indigenous Works enabled people to understand each other on a cultural basis, on an educational basis, on an industrial and business opportunity basis. So it really knocked down a lot of barriers and enabled people to engage in some real meaningful dialogue around what was important to the Indigenous people, what was important to business, and how that could come together.
And our job is to provide a helping hand. Our job is to provide a fishing rod, not a fish. And for many, many years, the federal government approach to Indigenous communities was to throw fish at the problem. Look, there's two important questions. What are the most significant accomplishments of the organization? And secondly, how has the organization contributed to the accomplishments in general around Indigenous inclusion in Canada? And I'll answer the second one first. The accomplishments that we've made as a community in increasing the number of Indigenous peoples that have more wealth now and more social well-being now than 10, 15, 20 years ago is a community accomplishment. And we've all, in our own little way, contributed to that larger, broader accomplishment. It's a very difficult accomplishment to measure because it's a collective. But when we come down to our organization, Indigenous Works, our greatest accomplishment is that we've been able to contribute to that increase in economic and social well-being within the Indigenous community, be it through the tools that we have, be it through the engagement of our employment partners, be it through the value of some of the consulting contributions that we've made to some of the larger corporations in Canada that are highly motivated to get this right. Those are accomplishments of our organization. We can measure that in terms of the number of our increased number of employment partners, the increase in the number of partners that are coming into our Employer of Choice accreditation program, the number of companies that are coming to us and asking for assistance, that they just need some help identifying how to even just prioritize. So I think it's been an accomplishment of ours that with every company that we help and every company that we work with, that's one more company that's contributing to the social and economic well-being of the Indigenous community. But all these various factors contribute to creating what has been a really fun ride, and what I would say is a highly successful organization. As small as we are, we punch well above our weight.
I want to congratulate Kelly and Kelly Lindsay and the Indigenous Works organization for celebrating 25 years of in service, 25-year anniversary. It's just remarkable how time has flown by. I've been involved over the years, the earlier years, for a long time, since about 2004. And I've always found that Indigenous Works was a really good place to bring together Indigenous people from across Canada and businesses and industry that were really interested in wanting to engage more with Indigenous people.
You know, they're already invested heavily in the success of Canada and the success of their businesses. So I think that's what the reason why it's lasted 25 years is we've had good governance. We had sound leadership at the board level. We had champions that were very, very powerful corporate members. So, and at the table, we also had 4 or 5 cabinet ministers that we would meet with once a year, and cabinet ministers from the province of Manitoba and Alberta and Saskatchewan. So it grew because there was an engagement of many partners.
What makes me so proud is that we haven't been stagnant, because we in 25 years we've gone through all kinds of even roadblocks ourselves, in the sense that originally we were mostly funded through federal department budgets, and now we don't rely on government funding, and we've been able to meet that challenge.
Will continue to grow in ways that we probably haven't even thought of yet. You know, we've opened up a new arm for innovation and research with an Indigenous lens, basically contributing to a two-eyed seeing approach to research and innovation. I mean, the sky is the limit. You know, bringing two-eyed seeing to innovation and research is a big, steep hill to climb.
You have to keep doing the right thing long after anybody who is of normal patience and that would have given up. But that's what Inclusion Works does, and it was very important, not only us at a strict business level in the oil sands, but industry more broadly, because it's the economy of Canada, but very important for the Indigenous people.
To see Kelly and his team in action over many, many years was really a joy to behold, knowing the impact they were having and hearing stories at these conferences and recruitment fairs of the change that Kelly and his team made for those people that gained employment through the work they did. Kelly and the team, but they are the unsung heroes of Canada, in my humble opinion.
We have our Indigenous Works mandate, which is really around the employment and training and skills development of Indigenous people. And then we have our foundation, Cochita, which we are attempting to make sure it gets launched properly and supports employment of youth and training of youth. And then we have Luminary, which is a new branch of our support. So all of these efforts that we have established and we have been really successful in implementing and starting to implement is really a growth of 25 years of hard work, commitment, and motivation.
Your grads, the ones that are here today, have come a long way